Seeley Spotlight panel presented by the Panels on Pages PrincessCast. I'm Meg. I'm Wonder Woman 2.0. Down the line, obviously you know who this is. This is Tim Seeley. Come on, y'all got me out last night. Let's give him a round of applause. We have Belinda, space for Simon Pegg. And next to her in the Rocket Pop hockey jersey is Mary, Captain Paneway. Next to her is Spazzy. What do you call her, Spazzy? I call her Spazzy first. And then right next to her, in the funny hat corner, is Kristen Scott. And this is a little tidbit of information for you. We've got Fangirls of the Month right down the line, including this one right here. Oh God, you're laughing at me. That's not good. Alright, well, we are here kind of talking a little bit about what Tim's been working on. Mainly, you know, hack slash, a little bit more of hack slash. But he also had a really awesome mini-series come out from Marvel past couple months ago, Ant Man Wasp. I don't know if anybody read that, but yeah, that was worth some love. So,
Thank you.
Alright.
I didn't think anybody read it, so yeah, that's cool.
Alright, so I kind of want to start off talking in a hack slash corner because I think everyone along this table is a fan, and I think everybody out there is a fan. So let's kind of start with talking a little bit about Cassie, female characters in horror comics, and what you've done to kind of play around with that particular trope.
No, but hack slash is basically about the girl left over at the end of the horror movie, which is just sort of an accidental theme that seems to happen in a lot of slash movies because at least in the early ones, they're all rip-offs of each other. I wanted to do a twist on that, which was having that girl be like, oh, I'm pretty good at killing these guys, I should go kill some other ones. But not that simple, obviously. But, and so that kind of became the Cassie Hack, you know, that was her template, and then adding the sort of, what kind of person would she be like if you went through all these, like, all the terrible things that happen to a person in a B-movie slasher type film. What kind of person would that make you? So that's kind of the genesis of the Cassie character. And I also wanted to do like a female character that was more like the women I knew. Because I think the toughest thing with a lot of comic book guys is they don't know a lot of women. So a lot of female comic characters, especially like the bad girl type ones, just didn't ring true to me. You know, even though I certainly have read my fair share of Lady Deaths and stuff like that, and enjoyed them, and I think they're great books. But I wanted to make a female character that you know, that had like insecurities and you know, maybe wasn't super defined, was still figuring some stuff out for herself. And I think, thankfully, I pulled it off just enough that some girls actually like the comics. So thank you. I'm so glad that works. But yeah.
Some girls definitely do like the comics. All right. Well, I'm going to go down the line. It looks like our ladies have some questions prepared too. Space, do you have one you want to start off with?
We're both huge horror fans and stuff, and we've sort of inundated with the remakes, the reboots, and the reimaginings. Have you ever thought that maybe you'd want to take one of your stories and maybe redo it any, or kind of go back, or kind of change it? I mean, if you thought back and thought, well, I might have like to add this character to this word.
Like George Lucas style?
No. Nothing good.
Like, that's kind of a funny idea. I never thought about doing a hack slash, which is clearly a bad remake of a good movie. So it's like an episode you picked up a book, you're like, oh, this is Tough Love or whatever. Wait, but it's worse. And it's new, and now it's grittier, and it kind of sucks, and it has bad actors. That's a good idea, actually. I never thought of that. That's kind
So
of
you're going to take hack slash and then get wrong.
Oh, snap. But I mean, yeah, that's a funny idea. I never thought about it. There would be some confused ass people reading that.
Walkie-talkies.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's a good idea. I might have to throw that in somewhere. But I mean, because generally, like, you know, most remakes don't sort of capture the spirit of the original project anyway. But in horror, that's so happens all the time. I'm not sure why. It's so consistently that way. But one of my theories has always been that slash movies were made like cheaply by a bunch of like people who should probably be in mental institutions or something. And when you get a bunch of like slick Hollywood dudes to try to remake these awesome crappy movies, you usually get something that's like it just didn't feel right. You know? Especially and I've seen every horror remake they made lately, all the slash ones. And the other one I really like, is I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one, okay. But there's one sorority rope. I love that movie. Why does everyone else do that? I thought that was the best slasher remake. That's my remake, but yeah, because it's hilarious. It's okay. The original is so much better.
Oh, it is.
So that's why I say it. But yeah, you're right. It does have a 3D nude sequence, which, to be fair, is pretty amazing. So I haven't seen that yet. So I lose some credit.
See it now. You'll be like, why did I wait? What is it, 3D?
I heard about the Jerry O'Connell 3D scene. I don't know if I need to see that. So. But thank you.
Speaking about the movie, okay, so we hear about who everyone wants to be Cassie, but who would you like to have as Vlad?
I've always thought from the beginning that Michael Clark Duncan would be a great Vlad. But I mean, it has to be said, and he's perfect, but if he couldn't do it, it's like, the weird thing with Vlad is like, it could kind of be all kinds of people because he's green and like, you know, like, I mean, the character himself is supposed to be, you know, a black kid, but I mean, you can color him green, it could be John C. Reilly with a mask on, or whatever. It's like, I just like somebody with a good voice and like a good actor, like, I think it'll be probably the toughest part of the casting. I know, like, with the movie stuff, in different iterations of, you know, the movie studio kicking around how they want to do a high-slash movie, a couple of times, like, Vlad has come up and, like, the executives have been like, yeah, we just don't get it. We don't get it. We think he should be hot. We think he should be, like, a sexy vampire guy. Like, it's happened a couple of times where they, you know, but I think, like, for a movie, like, a comic, it works great. We know, like, hulky monster dudes works in comics because, you know, the Hulk himself is still around. But, like, in a movie, they just, you know, they're like, how would we sell, you know, posters to young girls if he's told out? They don't get it. So I think that'll be an interesting, that'll probably be the part of the movie that I hear the most crap about, I bet you. If that ever happens, I'm sure that I'll somehow end up getting shit for Vlad being played by, you know, Justin Timberlake or something.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and ask, where's my Cassie Hack statue?
Other things about Hack/Slash that never get done. I've talked to people over the years. Action figure industry is like a pretty tough industry, you know. It's like, I think they sell a lot less action figures now than in the 90s where like every comic book had action figures. So if I could go back in time and live in that time and have all kinds of Hack/Slash toys to play with, I would. Yeah, we talked to a couple companies. I'm working on doing a statue thing. But yeah, I still have to figure out how to do that. Like, I thought it would be a lot easier, honestly, and it has not been. So, but I get like everything we do that isn't a comic ends up late. There's, you know, the movie super late, not, you know, taking too long. The RPG game that a company made so late. You know, I don't know. It's the curse of Hack/Slash, but we get the book out on time almost all the time. So I wanted to keep everything kind of like punk rock, do-it-yourself style with Hack/Slash. It's like, oh, why get it licensed when I can? The people can go and do, you know, and I thought that'd be cool. Turns out, horrible idea. At some point, we'll figure it out. I just don't have those Kirkman skills where, like, they've got Walking Dead lunchboxes, and I'm still carrying around my Master of the Universe one because I don't have access. So, yeah, I don't know. If we can make it happen, I'm all for it. There could be as much Hack/Slash stuff on the world. I'm fine with that. Like, love to have T-shirts and, you know, makeup cases. I don't care. Whatever. Just make stuff, you know. But it's just harder to get it done.
How did the idea of the Loaded Bible come about?
Oh, that's a good question. Loaded Bible, if you haven't read it, is about an apocalyptic future where vampires take over the earth and the church to fight back clones of Jesus. It was a book I did, the Image, started about 5 years ago, and there's 3 of them out. The idea actually came from my brother and I. He's 2 years younger than me. He's actually at the con in our side. But we were always just talking about, like, it's just, we would make up stupid movie ideas, and one of them was Jurassic Jesus, which basically Jurassic Park, except they let loose clones of Jesus in the park. So we were always talking about like the stupid idea. We thought it was just really funny. But then I had an idea that I wanted to do, which was like basically it was the comic Priest actually, but had never heard of that comic. But you know, it was like a Western in the future, you know, kind of idea with vampires. But then I just sort of one day, like, why don't I stick those together? And that was kind of ended up being Loaded Bible. So, but yeah, I wanted to do a comic that I could, like, you know, one of the things I like about science fiction is you can sort of make commentaries on things that bother you. And one of the things at the time that was bothering me is like post 9/11, it was like we got real conservative and real religious for a while there, and I thought it was kind of really messing with politics, and you know, we kind of put too much church and government, which I wasn't cool with. So I just kind of wanted to turn a story that was going to be originally like, isn't it funny seeing Jesus by member, into like a little bit of a commentary on the political situation post 9/11.
Like, what are some of the things that like drive you crazy about horror movies that you try and like play around with the backslash?
There's hardly anything in horror movies I actually like, except the remakes not being good. But yeah, like, I think a lot of the things that I make fun of are actually is affectionately, because I actually like these things about those movies. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was kind of drove me crazy is just that, you know, they tend to make all the people that get killed really annoying. In a lot of those movies, like, you're just waiting for them to die, you know? Which, in some ways, they did on purpose, because you kind of identify, like, there's a reason, like, when we were kids, little kids were dressing up as Freddy. Like, because Freddy is cool, like, you get him, even though it's like, it's kind of weird, because he's a child killer, you know? Like, it's kind of wrong, you know, that they made Freddy action figures. That's messed up. But, like, you kind of identify with the killer more, and I'm a pretty anti-violence sort of dude in real life, even though I draw terrible things and write terrible things. But it kind of bothered me that a lot of times you identify with the killer. So I wanted it to be that you almost always pretty much come down on the side of the person, the victim, or the heroine in this case.
All right, so to kind of turn around, knowing that you are a pretty big He-Man fan.
Somewhat, yes.
What would you be, a master of the universe? What would your name be?
Oh man, I wish you told me about this first. I could like really thought about it. I guess I would have to do, because when I was a kid, like my brothers and I would always make up our He-Man guys, you know. And I thought I had the most genius idea ever for a He-Man guy, which was it was going to be like a hyena guy named Funny Bone, right? But like in the tradition of He-Man character names, you know, you always put OR on the end, so it was like Funny Boner. So but I guess I'd have to be Funny Boner just to like, call out to my childhood lack of sense. But yeah.
I know you can pose a question of Vlad versus Jason. I kind of don't think that's fair because technically Jason doesn't have a really good eye. You're saying his face and he's still But I'm that
was my favorite one, by the way, the Jason X. That's so awesome. Yeah.
But I was thinking Vlad versus Leatherface. They're both butchers, both around the same size, sort of.
That's a good one.
Who do you think would win?
Oh man, that's tough. I get the ones with these is like, because if I ever had to do a story with him, you know, one of the toughest things with Vlad is like, he's kick ass. You know, so like making him sometimes go against things that I'm like, oh, you whoop the shit out of it. And it wouldn't make it a good horror thing, right? It's like you have to be like kind of afraid. If you're like, it's wussy, kick crap on it. You're not afraid, right? So I'm gonna say Leatherface so that if we ever did that story, you'd be like, will Vlad survive? But actually, Vlad will just whoop his mind ass. That's what happened.
Your characters are so real and compelling. Are any of them actually based on real people that you know?
I mean, Cassie's visually sort of inspired by a girl that I just have a big crush on who works at a comic shop in Florida. Personality-wise, I mean, I think a lot of when we talked about this earlier, it's just like a lot of the way men write women is not, it's sort of based on what they wish they were. And then they end up not being real. Yeah, I know, shocking. And actually, conversely, that works, and that's why like dudes don't like Twilight, because you're like, that's the girl version of a dude, you know? It's
I don't think you'll find many women in here who do either.
But generally speaking. But yeah, so there's certain things I think people don't notice about real people and put in stories. And that's like the things I think people actually notice in high slash, like, oh, I never seen a fictional character do that. I do that all the time. It's like you have to sort of notice things that I think people think is too stupid or embarrassing to put in a character, but actually it's like what makes characters, you know, interesting. Right? So yeah, she's like, I don't know, ever since I've been, I'm married and I lived with my wife previous to that, like 3-4 years. And I learned so much about Cassie from listening to my wife being pissed off about stuff. She's pissed off about a lot of stuff. But like just the way that she reacts and her frustrations, like a lot of that goes into, I think. So it's not a specific person, but it's just like noticing things about the way people, you know, like little things I think are what make, and especially with Vlad too, who's not based on my wife at all. But, but you notice like it's the little things that, you know, make it important.
I was just wondering if any of your friends walk around like saying that they're going to share their penis knowledge or anything. Like,
yeah. Pooch is not fortunately based on I mean, you know, the world is a better place for me not knowing the real Pooch, I guess.
Yeah.
No one has any questions? Come on, guys.
What I'm wondering about is the hack / stage play that happened for a couple years. What was your involvement in any of that?
I saw Army of Darkness play, and it was hilarious. It blew my mind. It was called Boomstick, a Army of Darkness musical. And after I saw the show, I went up to the director. I was like, that was incredible. If you ever want to do a musical based on my comic hack slash, you were welcome to. And he's like, I would love to do it, but I do not ever want to do another musical, basically. So we did a straight stage play and kind of adapted the first two comics, just because I thought it would be cool. I don't know. I didn't know of anybody who would, like, there was no Walking Dead stage play. Like, at least they would beat Kirkman on something, right? No, and so so I basically my involvement was I went every week and enjoyed the hell out of it, just watched it and had a good time. So. And then I married the girl that played Lower Locks. So, schoolroom fetish,
Tim, I read Ant Man Wasp and was one of the many who absolutely loved it. I also loved your work on G.I. Joe.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm wondering if there's any chance we might see you return to either venue, either G.I. Joe over at IDW, or doing something else with Marvel anytime soon.
I'm doing more stuff at Marvel, so I guess I kind of wait to see what the sales of the trade are, if they're ever going to like have another Ant Man miniseries, or I guess if the movie gets greenlit anytime soon, that would probably help it too. But there's no like immediate plans to do another Ant Man Wasp, though I'd love to do one. I have the story that I want to do. But if you liked it, tell Marvel, because that helps,
Absolutely.
And basically all things that aren't sort of guaranteed, like for Marvel, like they put Wolverine in something they know it sells, but they'll try stuff out and they want to hear what you think. And if like a bunch of people tell them they like it, then they'll do another one. So, but yeah.
The way you nailed both characters' voices was just
thanks, man.
perfect.
And G.I. Joe, I did do, like, I've been drawing the con covers for the Joe Con, and that's just like fun, nostalgic thing for me to draw more G.I. Joe stuff. I haven't really talked to the editors there about it or anything, but I'm always up for, doing some stuff.
If you did G.I. Joe, would you want to do any type of art on it, or would you want to do some writing for it?
It'd be awesome to write. I mean, the only thing I wrote for G.I. Joe is I wrote a one-shot that starred Roadblock. It was like a comedic episode that I did with Mike Gordon. It was like, I think it's the first time he did pugs, which now that's all he draws. I don't know Mike Gordon. Among most G.I. Joe fans, they thought they hated that issue, because we just made it funny. Really, we're like, Roadblock always talks in rhymes, and that's really stupid. And I would love to do another Roadblock comedic thing, because for me, it's hard to take G.I. Joe super seriously. I always enjoyed it, but I don't get it. Like a lot of hardcore G.I. Joe fans are they hate the silly elements, and I watch G.I. Joe every night on the hub. The episodes with the giant plants shooting peas at Cobra, that's fantastic to me.
Breakdancing wolf.
Yes, exactly. So that's my favorite stuff, Or the Cobra band formed of dreadnoughts.
Cold Slither.
That's the best. I would do that stuff. Who would march me out that door so fast I'd get fired so quickly? But at least it would be a return to Cold Slither or something.
When are we going to see the expansion of the story of Vlad's family?
That's a good question. We did a one-shot called Me Without You, which kind of revealed that there was more to the Vlad story than we previously did it. Issue should be 8 as we come back to that. So.
Okay, and one more thing. Do you know about the Japanese horror comics / movies Tomoe?
I've seen one Tomoe, yeah.
Okay, who will come out on top in a Tomoe versus hack / battle? And remember that she does have super lesbian powers. And she regenerates when you chop her up and makes more of her.
Wait, Cassie doesn't have those powers?
Well, yes, true. But.
I think the winner is us.
Nice answer.
All right, I'm going to take this way out into left field. Going back on your Master of the Universe talk, I have to know, would Funny Boner have the power?
He definitely have the touch.
Perfect answer.
I had to come up with something on the fly because Jason Kerouac stole what I was going to say. But one thing I do want to say, first of all, is the reason I'm here right now and interested in this panel is because of those ladies up there constantly talking about how great this book is. It somehow went under my radar for a while.
It goes under a lot of radar.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
It pretty much has a stealth suit.
I read all kinds of comics. It doesn't matter who publishes them. If it's good, I'll give it a shot. And it just, I don't know what happened. I just never did. And they just kept saying how awesome this is, so I checked it out. And I bought the first omnibus that they put out, and then like within the next week I'd already tried to track down the other two. You're not afraid to mix up with other franchises and stuff, and to get, you know, because some people are really want to protect stuff, but even from the beginning, you're really cool with throwing Cassie and Vlad into other stuff. So if you have like a carte blanche, Vlad, team up with Hellboy or
the Hellboy, that's a great idea. Like I've wanted to do that, but I'm good with Dark Horse, but I don't know if Mignola's ever even seen this little book, so I would feel so terrified to go ask him. But that would be I think that'd be a really fun one, because I've talked about this before, like Hellboy is about all the mythology that comes from like myths and legends and stuff. Hack Slash is about all the mythology that comes from movies that played on Up All Night in the 80s. So if you could combine that thing, God, there'd be just so many unlimited possibilities. Like, you know, just trolls and I don't know. We could have like slasher pixies. I mean, it could be amazing. It would be like a really good time. But yeah, but like Hellboy is actually a very serious comic, very serious, beautiful comic. Whereas Hack Slash is a very not serious, mostly movie-filled comic. So I wonder how that would work. But I would really like to do that. I'd love at some point I gotta figure out. I want to do the other Image characters. Like I want to get Savage Dragon and Spawn and like Witchblade all on Hack Slash somehow. I don't know how that would work. It sounds stupid as hell, but I want to do it. But yeah, I pretty much, you know, I keep the universe sort of flexible enough that things like Reanimator can come in there and actually be sort of part of the lore. Like it's not like just a passing thing and they met in an alley and fought and then they went about their business and it's never mentioned again. So, but as long as I can think of an idea, I'll do anything. Cool.
Is Cassie ever going to come against Jason?
The problem with, and I bag that question a lot actually, and Jason and Freddy are actually the holy grails of the slasher B-movie sort of stuff. But they're owned by a giant corporation.
Yes.
So, you know, like for me to go up to the guys who own Reanimator was really easy because it's just a guy. You know, it's the director and writer of the original films. They own all the rights to that stuff. So for me to pitch it to them is super easy. And you know, Chucky, I got lucky because it's owned by Rogue Pictures, who now owns the rights to Hack Slash film. So that was easy. And Evil Ernie, I could just call up, you know, whatever with Warner Brothers. I don't know. I got to come up with a business plan, a pitch, and you know, it's like I can barely, you know, work my iPad. I can't like, I know I can't function. It's like how much work that would take. So I would love to do it if like someone at New Line heard me say that I wanted to do it and decided to make that happen. That would rock. But it's like I know there's a lot of effort going. I mean, I worked at Devil's Due and I saw licensing pitches and they're just horrible. It's horrible stuff. So I would rather just like do the things that I think I can make easy and fun and that I will stay excited about. You know.
I've noticed with the book itself, like it doesn't really need continuity per se. Like it can kind of just be its own book as long as you have Cassie and Vlad being, you know, who they are, and then teaming them up against, you know, whoever they're kicking the crap out of. So I guess really what I'm getting at is, do you prefer writing the issues where it's more continuity, where you know, you're learning about Vlad's family, you're learning about, you know, Cassie's family, where they come from, or do you know, have more fun writing the ridiculous like kill scenes and?
Well, I set up one of the things I set up about the book and the ongoing was that, and we've been doing this since the Devil's Due ongoing, which is I'll have like an intense arc, like that's maybe 4 issues, 3 issues long, that I have to really think about and plan out and you know, make sure I split it up over 3 issues and make all those issues their own individually compact. And then I have to do an issue. I basically get an issue off. I still have to write it. It's just that I can do whatever I want. So it doesn't have to be, so that's how we end up with stuff like issue 5 of the original series was like just all about little moments between the characters, and I didn't have to, it wasn't a plot-driven issue at all, it was just like a little, you know, character stuff. So I'm setting that up again so that after this 4-issue arc, I have an issue that's just a one-off with the character Phantoma, who's in the superhero sidekick Sleepover Slaughter story. So I'm going to do an issue where Cassie Hack, and then we go back to another crossover arc, which is stories called Fame Monster, which is a little take on Lady Gaga album there. But that one's going to be about like a killer who hunts down crappy bad reality TV stars. So yeah.
Sounds great.
And also
their dresses made of meat and other sundry items.
Yeah. So, but then that will be that arc, and then we have an issue off, and then we're going to do Let's family story. So I'm kind of just pacing it out so that I stay, you know, sane. Basically, I stay sane because it is tough to do. You know, we don't do 6-issue arcs. Like we don't do none of our stuff is decompressed. We always keep it pretty short storyline, and that's because I like to keep the pacing pretty fast and stuff like that. And so when I do 3 issues, it's like it's intense. Like 3-issue storyline, 4-issue first issue storyline, kill me. So I'll have that nice break and be like, oh, then they fight exploding wolves and everybody's happy. Like whatever, So that's kind of the idea of how we pace it.
And we all want to know just how old is Cassie? We're trying to pin down an age on her.
Well, it's in my first Maniac, she's 16.
Okay.
And then, which is what, there's some scenes that Dan drew, I was like, Dan.
Yeah, exactly, that's it.
She's 16 in my first Maniac, and then in the current series, the tough thing about, obviously, comics is they come out every month, but we don't have to age the characters, but, obviously time has passed there, so in the current series, she's 19.
19.
So, but in my first Maniac, she's 16. So her story basically goes, 16, this weird stuff happened, and then she is by herself for like maybe a year, and then she, meets Vlad, and then the one-shots and the ongoing take her up to 18, and now she's 19. So,
okay.
Suicide Girls is after she did.
Yeah.
That's another thing I was hoping.
She doesn't have to, I've now out-aged Spider-Man and Batman, basically. Because like they don't age and I do, and then I'm like, oh, I'm no Spider-Man. But so Cassie could be 19 for 12 years, and it doesn't matter.
A lot of people would ask me, write us things about what they're doing in the future. Do we get to learn anything about what you're doing
absolutely.
soon?
Well, there's always Hackslash, so doing that every month an image, and then we actually launched a digital, direct-to-digital comics company called doublefeaturecomics.com. And it's with my studio mates at 4-Star Studios. So I'm doing a book in that called Jack Kraken, also based off a childhood character, but not funny boner. But it's basically 99 cents for a 16-page comic download with an app designed by our resident iPad developer who's in the audience over here, Mr. Josh Evans. And we're gonna, we would believe in digital comics, but our problem was sort of that everyone else was doing it not the way that we wanted it to be done, too expensive, they're using old content, and stuff like that. So we're doing all new content. It's all, each book is 2 features based around like a genre. So we have action double feature, science fiction double feature, horror double feature, and fantasy double feature. And we've got great creators. Mike Norton is doing the one in the issue that I do. Ross Campbell is drawing my story. He drew Wet Moon and stuff like that. Phil Hester is writing us a story. We've got so many good ones. I'm starting to forget. B. Claymore, Marshall Dillon, Ryan Brown, our artist of the awesome God Hates Astronaut comic. So we got some good people, and we signed up a bunch of people who want to do it this weekend just based on they saw the app and they're like, oh, that is good. So yeah, we got that coming up, and then I'm drawing an issue of Heroes for Hire at Marvel with Spider-Man, which is awesome.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And doing some more stuff with Dark Horse, though I have to keep it that I do it because I can do Hackslash, I can do what I can say whatever, but I have to keep the Dark Horse one quiet. But yeah, so I'll keep busy and keep writing. I'll always do Hackslash, and then there'll always be little peripheral stuff that pays my bills and lets me live in Chicago. Jack Kraken is kind of like my all ages. It's all ages in the way, not just for kids, it's for everybody. But it doesn't have a lot of racy, sexy stuff like Hackslash does. But it does have ghosts and Sasquatches and stuff like that. So it'll be pretty fun.
What was Jack's original name?
The Gripper. When I was a kid, his name was The Gripper because my grandpa had a pair of work gloves that he always wore, and it said Gripper on it. I was like, that's the coolest name ever. But it turns out when you're 34, you decide to make a comic called The Gripper. You're like, I don't know. So now he's Jack Kraken. What's that?
Will we see Gripper and Funny Boner together?
The ultimate team up of my childhood. Grossly misnamed characters. Oh, maybe yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, why didn't I put Funny Boner and Cole Noble? I don't know why I didn't do that. Because I'm an idiot, that's why I didn't. That would have been awesome. There you go.
I know Phil Hester is very fond of you and Mike Norton. You're talking about that idea of crossovers with Sailor's Play. What about you with Phil maybe doing a Darkness crossover?
That'd be awesome. I work with Phil on just about anything. Like Phil, there's not a lot of guys that write and draw. And so, I'm one of the few, and there's other ones, but Phil, I think, is probably the best. Like, Phil draws amazing, and he's also an amazing writer. Like, when Phil writes something, actually, I'll go buy it. Like, The Darkness, I wasn't a big fan of The Darkness. I think it's kind of a weird character, but Phil wrote it, and it's awesome. Like, I was, so yeah, he's, I'll do anything with Phil. He wants to do darkness, I'll do it.
It's remarkable the books that Phil can take and make halfway decent after
Like,
particularly crappy first start.
Yeah.
Are we going to see any more trailers or actual stories built off of the teaser trailers that you put out? Because there's several issues of those.
We did trailers too, which is a bunch of my friends basically coming in and doing them and doing short trailers. Most of them just actually wrote short stories. But those are all their stories, so I couldn't use their stories. That's theirs. But yeah, maybe someday. Fake Monster is kind of based on the one Dead Celebrity that Stefano Caselli did. But I love Stefano, but I had no idea what that was about. So I kind of changed the story a little bit. But his idea was kind of the basis of this one.
What about Cassie and Days Missing?
I actually know the arcade guys. I expect you to buy the Roddenberry estate, which they might not be down with the heavy movie content. That's a good book, though.
Any more novel in movie?
Yeah, I knew this was coming. I was yeah. I mean, that's no official word that has ever that comes from the studio, but yeah, it's definitely moving now, and that means it could happen. It's still I think the problem is when we first started, when we first got the movie deal, it was like, this is like a dream, this is going so smoothly, this movie's gonna be out next year. And they had a place to film and they had all this stuff, and then everybody was telling me how horrible Hollywood stuff was. Like, I'm living the dream, I guess it's just great. And then every horrible Hollywood thing that's supposed to happen happened, right in a row, and then consistently for 3.5 years after that. But yeah, and I think it's in a better place now, but it's still big movie studios, and they still get bought and sold, and people still think that they have tiger blood, and it's just it's a tough place, and it doesn't always mean that a good movie is going to come out of it. So
I'm glad to hear that. I know when I saw you this past fall, it was kind of a
just do this.
head desk situation.
So,
I was like,
yeah.
do you want to do that?
It's not that
about that. Okay.
But it could be that very quickly. I mean, a lot of ideas were thrown around by not by the creative people. Like, all the creative people we worked with were awesome. Like the guy, the original director Todd Lincoln was awesome. All the writers I thought did good stuff. The only ideas that have been thrown around that I hated were usually by executives or guys in suits, and most of them are fired or I don't know, doing something else by now. But yeah, the Vlad one, and then there was kind of one of the story elements that they just didn't like was they actually didn't like the lunch lady at one point. One of the executives just didn't get it. It's like, it's supposed to be funny, it's not funny. So they wanted to take out all of that origin altogether. They didn't want to have someone, it wasn't any writers, and they wanted to get rid of that and rewrite it with a different sort of Cassie origin. And I was like, just call it something else. That doesn't seem to make sense at all. But yeah, that was discussed. I hate that idea a lot, but. I mean, at the end, they could have made it. I wouldn't care. They could have made that movie, and I wouldn't go. I wouldn't give a shit. But it would, because they already paid me. I can't get any more money out of it, so whatever. But I would be sad for you guys because it would suck. So.
We do have some things to give away.
We have prizes.
So first we have Tim signed both of these, by the way. It's Bomb Queen versus Hack Slash, and then we also have Hack Slash Me Without You. Scott, what do you?
I just met that girl on Friday, and she was already calling out your mom jokes while we did that at the studio all day.
I warned her that that's what she needs to do.
So I don't know if she should have to do it.
No, that's what she'd have to say to that. Your mom should have those books. Okay, and then we have 3 sets of 3 prints to give away. They are amazing. So, what's your number, Spazzy?
I'm going to do 48.
Nice shirt there, sir.
Yeah, we don't know him. What? Go with lucky number 7.
Good number.
Yay! And space to focus on. 13.